All right, guys, we're back to Europe and we're going to talk about life in medieval towns in Europe. So, we talked about feudalism before, and most people were living under that system, or a lot of people were living under that system where you had the king in charge, and then you had the lords underneath them, and then the knights, and then the peasants, and reasons for that to help keep order. But now we start having these medieval towns crop up, and the medieval towns didn't really get governed by the king. They, whoever could afford to pay for a place in medieval town to sell their goods could have that place. If you could afford rent to stay somewhere, you could stay there. If there wasn't really any rule of the king there, people could actually grow in their social structure. So before, if you were a peasant, you were just a peasant. If you were a serf, you were bound to the manor and you couldn't become anything but a serf. Now, in these medieval towns, you actually could. You could learn to do a trade. You could learn to be a blacksmith, and then you could move up the ranks of being a blacksmith. You could be a baker or something in a town, and you could make money and move up in social status. So let's look a little bit about how this lesson is going to go. It's a pre-lesson. It's a pretty quick one. It's going to lead into our next lesson as well. So for this one, for your notes, there's going to be some questions I'm going to show you in a minute that you're going to answer here in your notes. Your three vocabulary words are guild, apprentice, and bubonic plague. And then finally, here's your objective. You will understand the growth of medieval towns and how feudal relationships provided the foundation of political order. And that feudal relationships are going to kind of change starting with this lesson and then into our next. Here's the two videos you're going to watch. First, though, I want you to write down these questions. These are the questions I want you to write in your notes, and then come back and watch the two videos. They're only about 5 minutes apiece, so it shouldn't take you very long. So you should answer the questions here in the slideshow and in your notes. When you're done, you're going to take a look at guilds. You're going to do a little bit of research about guilds, but what guilds are groups of people that perform a different job. So, for instance, there could be a blacksmith guild, and that are a group of people that are blacksmiths. You could have a baking guild or a cobbler guild. Cobblers, they make shoes. You could have in this case, the craft guild of bowers and fletchers. So they make arrows. A fletcher is somebody who makes an arrow, and a bower, somebody who makes your bow for your bow and arrow. So what would happen if you joined one of these guilds? You would be an apprentice and you would learn the skill. For instance, if you were part of the craft guild of bowers and fletchers, you would learn the skill of either making arrows or bows. And then you would get to wear this guild crest. If you became an apprentice and you made your way up to the ranks and they felt that you did a good enough job that you could wear the guild crest, what that did was give you some power to earn some money. So that would say, hey, this person's good enough to work in this guild crest and they know what they're doing. So you should hire them, and they could go from town to town. So if there were enough bowers and fletchers in one town, well, you could take your guild crest and go to another town and say, hey, I'm part of this guild. Can I have a job? And if you were a recognized guild or an important guild, you definitely would be hired for that job. Now, you're going to do a little bit of research, and then you are going to create your own guild crest. You can do this on your own, or you can do this with partners. It doesn't have to be something from medieval Europe, even though it could be, but you could have like a Fortnite guild or a rappers guild or maybe a basketball players guild. You need to design a guild crest and then say what type of guild that is. You're going to use the next slide here to make your guild crest and tell us what it is. You got some research here. So you can do some more research on medieval guilds. There's a few here that you can look at for definitions. You also have some examples of some guild crests here. So you can just scroll down here and look at these different guild crests. They're all outside of the stores here that you can see. You're obviously not going to make a metal one. We're looking at just this part of the guild crest for what you would make. And that's it. Again, you can do this on your own. You can definitely do this on your own, or you may do this in your small group. That's it for today's lesson. Yeah, it's a pretty quick one today. And we are leading into a change in the feudal society in Europe. And we're going to really look at that in our next lesson this week. All right, get to work, guys.